everyone, and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Friday, July 9th, 2021, and this is episode 186. My name is Carol. I am known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I am coming to you from my home in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, just a little ways east of Vancouver. July 9th is actually a very special day for me and my husband. 39 years ago today, we met at my sister's wedding, and then exactly a year later, we got engaged. So just thought I'd mention that. It's a little bit of a celebration for us. On a less happy note, this is round 2. I recorded the first half of this episode flawlessly, I might add, right through take 1, no breaks, and then I accidentally erased it. So here we go again. Unfortunately, the second time around is often not as good as the first time around, so hopefully it doesn't end up being too bad. I have lots to talk to you about this week. Not so much knitting though. It has been a very full week, so there's lots of life stuff going on that I'll tell you about. But I do have a finished project and a couple of works in progress, so it's not entirely empty of knitting. I kind of thought I might flip the episode around and talk about life first, knitting second, but I know there's lots of you that just come for the knitting, so I'll put that here and then you can go on and get on with your day after the first section. So yeah, why don't we jump in with the finished project. So first up is my cave art socks. Here they are. Whoops, see, I can't even hold them right. There we go. So named because the name of the yarn colorway is Cave Art. The yarn is by Ancient Arts. It's their sock NATO base. And these practically knit themselves up. I had so much fun knitting these. I deviated a little bit from my usual vanilla sock. Usually I cast on 64 stitches with a 2mm needle, but because this yarn's a little bit heavier than a normal fingering, I dropped that down to 60 stitches on a 2.25mm. And just for fun, instead of my usual 2x2 rib, I did a 1x1 twisted rib. So I did a yarn over short row heel, my usual favorite. I had thought about taking the yarn from the other end of the ball to do the heels so that whatever was going on here wouldn't be interrupted around this gusset area, but I just decided to roll with it, and I think it did up fine. Kind of has these little swirly bits as you go, and then just a usual rounded toe. So there's sock 1 and sock 2, although honestly this might be sock 1. I don't remember which one I knit first. Sometimes I can really tell. This one I can't remember. Whoops, I just banged my computer there. So yeah, really love these. They were such a pleasure to knit. And I had a couple of people say it reminded them of the Earth's Children series by Jean Owl, the Clan of the Cave Bear and all the following books. And yeah, for sure it does. These colors are very reminiscent of the colors used in cave paintings, all the yellow and red ochre and the charcoal. As I mentioned last week, that's a subject that I've been quite interested in lately, both the Neanderthals and their lives, and the Homo sapiens who followed, and I think that's why this color appealed to me in the first place. I bought it not that long ago. So just thinking I really should maybe read that whole series again. I've read the first 4 books a number of times. I wasn't crazy about the last 2. The last one, actually, I think it's called something like The Land of Painted Caves, which really got me interested in cave art in general. but the book itself was not that terrific. But maybe it's time to revisit it with fresh eyes. Anyway, going on and on about that, and I really don't have time to. I have big plans for later today, which I will tell you about shortly. So I really do need to zip through this, and so I can get it up, edited and uploaded, hopefully by later this afternoon. That's why it's so frustrating when the first half of the recording went so well. Now I have to redo it all, but such is the life of a podcaster. Second pair of socks. These are a work in progress, and I showed them to you last episode, knitting them out of Regia Mountain and Fjords design line from Arnett and Carlos. I'm not even going to attempt the colorway name again. It is just color 7028, which is this mix of sort of pale bluey gray, brown, and red. And then they're really knitting up fun. I put one onto a sock blocker so you could see it. These are for my brother-in-law Ed for his birthday at the end of November. So I cast on 72 stitches on a 2mm needle, and as you can see, I did a traditional heel flap and gusset. And I was really happy with the way that the color, the patterning worked out. Sometimes on self-striping and self-patterning yarn, this whole area, sometimes you have to do a little bit of color management, because you might end up with like one line of like one color and it looks out of place. But I'm happy with how these have kind of transitioned through that area. So I've got that one, and then this is the way I have them set up on the needles when I knit the gusset part, so that I've got half the front stitches and then all the sole and gusset stitches. So then once the stitches are all decreased for the gusset, I go back to having all the front stitches on one needle and I guess in this case, the instep stitches on one needle and the sole stitches on another. So that's how this one is set up now. This is actually cool because you get a different look again at that yarn. I guess it'll go this way once it's on. So it's kind of a fun yarn to see it knit up. Yeah. All right, so another project that you have already seen before is my Silver River shawl by Helen Stewart. This is the second shawl in the Shawl Society 5 collection. And as you can see, it's two colors. It's kind of like a long crescent shape with some short row shaping here. And the Silver River is a reference to the Milky Way. And so I was very inspired by that in my choice of yarns. I had a couple of yarns set aside in my stash ready for a two-color shawl from Black Cat Custom Yarn. And this is the Blingtron 400 colorway, so it has some sparkle. So I chose for the main color this light green called Frogger. And then this one I thought was particularly fitting. It is called Starry Night. And here's how they look together in the skein. And here's how they look together in the shawl. It is getting quite long. I am at, let's see, almost 70% done. I have finished the first 3 sections. I've just finished this last section of short rows, so I've done 6 stripes. So all I have to do is one more patterned area and then a few rows of garter stitch and the picot bind off. So there we go. Like I said, it's all bunched up, so it's hard to show. So I'll bring this in close so you can get a good look at that star stitch pattern and then these garter stitch short rows. Love how this is knitting up. I love these colors. I think it's so pretty. But the rows are getting long. This last short row section seemed to take forever, as I expect this last star stitch section will too. But I think it'll be beautiful when it's done. I am hoping to get a fair bit of time to work on it this week because the next pattern in the collection comes out next week. So wish me luck. I hope to have a finished project to share with you next time I record. And then in the meantime, the final pattern for the Handmade Sock Society by Helen Stewart was released, and they are the scribbly gum socks, which look like a really fun lacy cable-y pattern. And I have not cast these on yet. I have been stash diving, and there are a few contenders. So once I narrow my choice down, I will cast these on, hopefully within the next day or two. All right, so that does conclude the knitting portion of this episode. I told you it would be kind of short and sweet. So let's move on to the life stuff. Unfortunately, my first thing I want to tell you about is some really sad news. So some of you may have seen this on the news. Some of you may have seen this in comments I posted after last week's episode went live. So last episode, I told you that the record for the hottest temperatures in Canada ever recorded in recorded history, I guess that's understood, happened last week in a little town called Lytton, BC, which is located about 2 hours drive from where I live. And in fact, we had driven through it just a few days prior on our way back from the cabin. And I was utterly shocked and so saddened to learn literally minutes after posting last week's video that the town of Lytton was on fire. And it came up very quickly. People had literally just minutes to evacuate. And sadly, the next day we learned that approximately 90% of the village had been destroyed. It's just so hard to wrap your head around and to just imagine what it would feel like to have had to leave so quickly, and to know that you've probably lost everything. Sadly, 2 people did perish in the fire. Although I was reading about it today, thankfully, apparently there do not appear to be any other missing people. People scattered literally in all directions to take refuge. And so it took a while to coordinate the efforts and have people confirm that their loved ones were okay. There were different evacuation centers set up in different places. The cause of the fire is not known. It was initially suspected that it was due to a train that had gone through the area that was on fire, although the railway denies that. Officials do believe it is human caused, so it remains to be seen what the investigation reveals. There had been already a fairly small wildfire burning south of town when this occurred, and the fire that began in the town has spread and is still out of control. It's burned to the north and northwest and the north and northeast, and has burned south and met up with this initial wildfire. So crews are still trying to get a handle on things, so people in town and then in the surrounding areas are still evacuated. Um, so, yes, my heart just goes out to those victims. It must be a terrible, terrible thing. The SPCA has apparently gone in and rescued a number of animals that had to be left behind. And residents are going on a little bus tour today. They're being allowed into the area to view the destruction, which must be just a heart-wrenching task. There are numerous wildfires burning in British Columbia at the moment. Last week there were so many that were begun either by human activity or by lightning after this intense heat. In some areas, things cooled down quite quickly and sparked thunder and lightning storms, which in turn sparked new fires. Last week, I also told you about a fire that was burning in sight of where our cabins are located. And at the time, I naively thought it would not cross the river and that would not be a concern. I say naively because I'm sure, as you can guess, the fire did cross the river, and it appears to be becoming under control. Apparently, there was not any significant fire growth over the last 2 days. Our cabins are safe at this moment. They lie approximately 2 miles outside of the evacuation zone. But for the first time that I'm aware of, there's been an area restriction put in place, supposedly up until the middle of October, unless it is rescinded earlier, and it is restricting activity on Crown land, government-owned land, in this large area in order to help to, at this time, not to hamper fire crews, and then also to hopefully prevent some fires in the future. So, for instance, the provincial campground and picnic site and boat launch that are located at the lake that's about a mile from our home has been closed, I'm guessing, for the summer. Which is unfortunate because that's where we go to launch our boat and to go fishing. Our understanding is that we'll still be permitted to go to our cabin once, well, I guess technically we're allowed to now since we're not evacuated. But that, for instance, our property adjoins a couple of different provincial parks that we presumably would not be allowed to enter. So we'll just see how events unfold. Right now, from what we understand from a neighbor that has a cabin right on the lake, they left last week because it was just too smoky. And then my mom was saying she lives in town about 10 miles east of our cabins, and she said it was quite smoky. She's actually located between two quite large fires, so I think the smoke comes from both of them. So yeah, just not a good time for British Columbia again. We've gone through this before, unfortunately, and we will again, no doubt, as temperatures continue to climb and be out of control. Thankfully, things are quite a bit cooler here now. Still a little bit muggy. We've had a couple of kind of overcast days, and the sun's shining today, although it's kind of hazy out there, and I don't know if that is the air that comes in from Vancouver and kind of settles where we live and can be quite bad for our air quality, or if it's smoke. But the mountains are just behind a little bit of a haze. I have really noticed the last couple days my breathing has not been as good. Yesterday especially. On the good news front, I actually got a call yesterday, and I finally got a breathing test set up for the 21st of this month. I was referred way back in December, but because of COVID restrictions, respiratory units in most hospitals were shut down. And so finally, hopefully, we'll get a sense of just what I've been going through. For those of you who are new, I developed some breathing issues last fall when we had some wildfires in our province, and the area where we live was inundated with smoke for off and on for 2 or 3 weeks. And so I developed some breathing problems during that time, asthma-like symptoms. So they've been treated, and I've been doing very well with that, but it'll be nice to get sort of a definitive answer on whether or not I actually have asthma, and if not, what is causing these issues. Another good news, Cameron and I have both now received our second COVID-19 vaccination. Mine was last Thursday, so I'm now a full week into my 2 weeks, and Cameron's was on Sunday. So his arm was a little bit sore afterwards. The day after mine, off and on all day, I felt slightly nauseous, but not too bad. But my arm was very sore and stiff. The next morning I could only raise it up to here, and then with very much difficulty I could kind of get it up over my head. Now, of course, I can move it freely. That only lasted for a couple of days, and now it's just fine. Doesn't even hurt if I touch it or anything. So I was really dreading side effects, especially because we received Moderna after having received AstraZeneca the first time. So there's 2 different types of vaccines. Weren't sure if our side effects would be better, worse, different, what have you. Cameron basically made out the same with both. He wasn't bothered by them at all, other than a little bit of a sore arm. So lucky for him. Just gonna look at my notes here. Yeah, we had some visitors, and then we went and did some visiting. So over the Canada Day weekend, Cameron's older brother and his wife were in the interior of British Columbia visiting their son who lives in Alberta. So his son and his family. So they kind of met halfway. My brother-in-law lives in Victoria. And so they ended up staying with us on their way home Sunday night. So they arrived sort of mid-afternoon, and we had invited all of our family together so everyone could get a chance to see them. It had been a year and a half since we had seen them. That was the last time that we were on Vancouver Island on New Year's, and so it was great for everyone to get a chance to visit and just have some more family time. And as people are gradually getting their second shots, we're able to be, closer, spending closer time with our family, which is really nice, and to feel like we can share a meal and not be worried about spreading COVID and all those things. Because in the beginning, we just didn't do any of that. We all brought our own food and drinks to our various gatherings and sat well apart. So now we can sit a little closer together and have things set up on a table and let people serve. We just did like an appy night. And then we ended up going and staying with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law Tuesday night so that we could go and see Cameron's mom. So again, it had been a year and a half since we had seen her. She also lives in Victoria. She is in an extended care facility just a few minutes away from where Cameron's brother lives. And so we headed over on Tuesday and went to visit her, and then went to our brother-in-law's place and or my brother-in-law's place, his brother's place, and had dinner with them, stayed overnight, and then we went the next morning to have another visit with Cameron's mom before heading home. So it was good to see her doing well. She looks healthy, and um, she has dementia, so she's not always as aware of what things are going on. Her short-term memory is not very good. So we tend to have the same conversations about the same things multiple times during a visit. And unfortunately, we had to wear masks, so she's quite deaf, so it was challenging also. She has a tough time hearing my voice anyway, and then having the mask on made it really hard. So I would say something and Cameron would translate it because she can hear him better. But we took over some family photos and took pictures of our son's recent wedding, so then she could have an idea of what that looked like, and so we had a good visit. It was a year and a half has been a long time to not be able to visit with her. And then just learned yesterday that as of, I think it was the 17th, the restrictions in assisted living and care homes are going to be eased, so that if you're, for instance, if you are fully vaccinated, you no longer have to wear a mask during visits. So that will make things easier the next time that we go. We had to make appointments for these ones and fill out forms and have our temperature checked and all those things before we could see her, but totally worth it. So that was great. Cameron was on holidays. He finished work out last Thursday, and then he's gone back to work this morning. So he is working locally today, and then he is heading out of town for a couple of days again. He'll work out of town Saturday, Sunday, Monday, be home Monday night. So things are not quite all wrapped up there, but certainly he doesn't have to spend as much time there as before. But they're still short-staffed, still looking for someone to fill another position, which is proving to be very difficult. So in order for his new manager to get some time off, he needs to fill in here and there. I think that leads us to something good, and that's the event that I have planned later today, and that is that our youngest granddaughter is coming over to sleep over for a couple of nights. So I was going to wait until we were a full 2 weeks after our vaccination, but the kids have been out of school for a couple of weeks and haven't been around other kids, so I feel like it's safe. And so she's super excited. We planned this last weekend when they were over, and apparently that was Sunday, and apparently Monday morning she was already packing for it. She had packed her robe in case she was going to have a bath or a shower. She's 6, and then we had to drop something off at their place later that day, or I guess pick something up actually, and she told me she'd packed 3 pairs of pajamas and she's staying 2 nights. So her mom's done a little bit of, just tweaking that a little bit. But as soon as I'm all finished getting the podcast up, then I'm going to go pick her up. So Cameron and I are going to take her out for supper tonight, and it'll just be the 2 of us Saturday into Sunday, since Cameron will be away. So I asked her what she would like for dinner, and she would like her mom's macaroni and cheese, and then she asked me if I knew how to make her mom's macaroni and cheese, and I assured her that I'm the one that taught her her mom how to make macaroni and cheese. So that's like from scratch, not the craft stuff. So she felt fine with that. We'll see if that's what we end up having. We might have leftovers from tonight's dinner, so we'll see. But yeah, it's kind of cute. I can't wait just to spend some cuddle time. It's just been so long since we've been able to really cuddle these kids, and She's at a fun age. I love to hear what's going on inside her head. And she was all excited because this time she gets to sleep in the big bed. So we have a single bed, like two spare rooms. One has a single bed where she has stayed before. This time she gets to stay in the double bed. So she's quite excited about that too. Um, so her older brother, he's 10. He's slated to come next weekend. He's not sure if he wants to stay one night or two. He has a couple of friends that are away right now, so I think it's going to depend on when they get back because he's anxious to see them. And our oldest granddaughter, don't think too crazy about the idea of a sleepover at Grandma's. She's 16, but maybe we'll go shopping or do something special too. So lots of fun coming up. All right, so that does it for this week, short and sweet. I am hoping to record again next week, so I hope you all take care until then. Enjoy your crafting. Stay cool if you're in a hot spot. Stay warm if you're heading into winter. And yeah, thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.